Hey, welcome to DeRazzled, the last episode of Season 2. We're just going to jump right in and talk about Blonde some more.
In case you forgot, we're the podcast that takes award-winning worst films and fixes them.
Sometimes.
Wait, sometimes. Jack, this is the one we're supposed to do that. Jack, why are you looking at me like that?
I'm host Jack Culbertson, here to suffer alongside me as always is Joe Nealis.
Jack, what's happening? You're giving me that look.
How's your city water?
It's fine.
How's your city air?
I think you framed it as my throat feels like I've been gargling screws. Like what screws?
Drywall screws.
Drywall screws. That was it. Okay, yeah. Not quite that bad. I think I've downgraded to like those like big plastic thumbtacks.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Or like old ones that are like where like the point has been kind of worn down.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
We're all good. We're all good here. Wow, we did it. And here we are with Blonde. Normally this is the part where I would ask you what knowledge you had of a movie prior to researching it, but it's from last year.
Yeah, that's the thing. This one's relatively fresh. So I knew that it was happening. I knew of its existence when Netflix had revealed that it was going to exist. I saw the news that Ana de Armas had been cast.
Yeah.
And I saw the news that it was god awful.
Same.
Though I was also very confounded because before I had watched it, obviously I knew like, well, Ana de Armas got nominated for an Oscar for this.
Right.
But yeah.
Which she was good, but she wasn't.
I don't think she was Oscar nomination
No.
good, especially in a year where Viola Davis and Danielle Deadwyler didn't get nominated, and they put on arguably the two best performances by Black actresses of last year.
But it's a movie about Hollywood.
That is the fucking like
yeah, it is.
That is
Yep,
it's the fucking La La Land
Yeah.
Master key.
The La La Land of it all.
Yeah, it's a movie about Hollywood, thus they're going to nominate it for something.
Right.
Whereas Nope didn't get nominated for shit. And it's also a movie
damn it.
about Hollywood.
That's true, it is
but
also
it's
a movie about Hollywood.
extremely
Aw, man.
critical of Hollywood and also made by a black man.
There were monsters too, and the Oscars don't like horror.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
I would like to jump straight to having people explain themselves.
Yeah, let's give we haven't done the rundown of who's responsible for this one yet. So if you wanted to hear what did and didn't work, tune into part 1 if you haven't already, you weirdo. But let's
It happens more often than it
honestly,
should.
it happened again with Assassin's Creed.
What the fuck's wrong with you people?
I don't understand. Anyway, let's hold some people accountable.
So just so that Joe knows, and then the rest of the people who are listening also know, this episode is going to be different.
Yeah, I got that from the look you gave me earlier when I mentioned fixing.
I kind of wrote it when I was in the middle of a bunch of bullshit. So
You did warn me about that beforehand. Yeah.
it will be even a surprise to me.
Fascinating.
Hey, Joyce Carol Oates. What do you know about Joyce Carol Oates?
Prolific author for decades, one of the best known young adult authors in the United States.
I didn't know she did YA.
Oh, she's done a lot of YA. Yeah, that's actually how I first got introduced to her. Was I took a young adult literature class in undergrad when I was still thinking I was going to teach English.
Oh, I didn't know that. Learn stuff today.
Yeah, so I read some. I know I read some of her stuff. I just cannot for the life of me remember what back then. But she's written a lot of books for adults and is very wide ranging and has a lot of buck wild opinions.
We'll get to it.
Yep.
I was aware of her by her name.
Yeah.
And I had read Where Are You Going? Where Have You Been? I had tried to get through her masterclass.
Oh, she did a masterclass?
She did, yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
Well, I had just finished Neil Gaiman's masterclass, and I was like, that was really fulfilling and enjoyable, and I like spending time with this man.
Because Neil Gaiman's great.
Yeah.
Just, I love that guy.
I don't know that I learned anything super helpful, but it was very enjoyable to hang out. And then I went over to hang out with Joyce, because that was another name I recognized.
Sure.
And I hated it. It was like hanging out with Wendy from The Shining.
Oh, no.
And I felt bad, and I left.
You should go hang out with Steve Martin for his comedy class.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So Joyce Carol Oates, she was born in 1938.
Oh, God, really?
Yeah.
She's
a little older.
God, I had no idea.
She published her first book in 1963 and has since published...
Again, it's 4th of July
still
tomorrow,
4th of July, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not being shelled.
No.
Yeah, I hope.
I hope that actually came up in the mix.
She has published 58 novels, a number of plays, novellas, and like a wild amount of short stories, poems, nonfiction. Some of her more notable work is A Garden of Earthly Delights, Them, The Wheel of Love, Wonderland, Blackwater, and Blonde.
She sure did do that last one in particular.
So she taught at Princeton from 1978 to 2004. But what I find more interesting than these little bio tidbits is her fucking true crime life that she lived.
Oh?
Yeah. So her grandfather was murdered before she was born.
I mean, that sucks.
Yeah. Which led to like an informal adoption. However, her paternal grandmother survived an attempted murder-suicide at the hands of her own father.
What the
Yeah.
fuck?
As a kid, next door, her neighbor pled guilty to charges of arson and attempted murder of his family.
Okay, so Joyce Carol Oates was like this close to growing up to becoming William Murderface from Death Clock.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
that's...
Just surrounded by murder. And, you know, it's weird. When she did get into writing, she focused on topics of, like, rural poverty, sexual abuse, class tension, you know, weird stuff that you wouldn't think would interest a person. Yeah,
no, none of that's at all relevant to anyone's life experience.
Sorry,
Jack.
Joyce. So this is the part where we feel bad for Joyce. And now let's
holy fuck.
Take a moment. That sucks. It makes sense that like I said, I've only read the one book, and I've watched the one movie based on her novel. And there's all that stuff in there.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of that stuff in there. There's just some recurring themes. Executed poorly this time, as we
a little bit.
I think we mentioned.
Hey, she's written 58 novels. I'm sure she's got a couple of...
not everything's going to be a winner. That's when you've written that much shit. I think about like the gag about Stephen King like running out of ideas and suggesting he's going to write a horror book about a lamp, which I forget if that... I think that was a Family Guy bit, but
sure.
It just...
He did one that was like a steam crusher. I forget what it was called.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a movie based on it because they were like the short story. And Stephen King, great
movie. Say no more. Say no more.
Yeah.
We will absolutely adapt that. When you've had that much stuff published, like it, some of the stuff's not going to live up to some of the other stuff. It's just going to happen.
Right. You want to be mad at Joyce?
You're not already?
Do you want to be angrier at Joyce?
Maybe. Why?
So Joyce likes to hang out on Twitter
a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So she has said some things that have upset some people.
I'm going to preface this with again, when we mentioned it briefly last episode.
One good thing.
The one good thing, she's not a TERF.
Yeah.
Like she has on Twitter specifically spoken in favor of just respecting people for who the fuck they say they are.
So hold on to that.
It's a low fucking bar, folks. So it's just...
Well, like one of the authors I do like from this kind of like time period, Margaret Atwood, who did Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah,
I can't say that.
Can't say that. No, like she's not J.K. Rowling, but she has vocally been a little turfy.
If I recall, it's a lot of like, well, if we extend the definition of female to include everyone, then it will weaken our fight for feminism. Don't quote me on that. I don't know if that's her shtick, but
yeah,
a lot of people from that wave of feminism, that is their shtick.
That is their shtick. And I recognize I'm a cis dude talking about this right now, but no, that's not how it works. I just
it's
that you're getting into oppression Olympics bullshit at that point. It's just
oppression Olympics. Okay, well, hey, she said some things that could be considered Islamophobic.
Oh, Islamophobic. I missed that.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And then when she was called out on it, she tweeted, quote, where 99.3% of women report having been sexually harassed and rape is epidemic. Egypt, national to inquiry. What's the predominant religion? Implying that if the dominant religion in your country is Islam, or then...
What does she have to say about Catholic priests in the United States? Anything?
I didn't read that information, but it's not a good take.
No, it's a pretty shitty take.
Pretty rough. The other one that she's noted for saying is her responding to Mississippi schools pulling To Kill a Mockingbird from the curriculum, which is not great.
That's not great. No, they shouldn't have done that.
Tweeted that Mississippians don't know how to read anyway.
Man, come on.
Not nearly as bad as the first thing, but also not great.
It's not. Come on, man. First off, illiteracy is still a thing throughout throughout everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not just the South. It's not just poor countries or wherever. There are illiterate people fucking everywhere. Yeah. It's just a thing. You don't need to make them feel fucking bad about it.
You can be upset that they pulled that book from the curriculum.
You can just be upset about that. That's already upsetting. They shouldn't have done that.
And she's had other hot takes, but those are the two that are best recorded and recent.
The one that kind of made me just kind of squeeze the bridge of my nose in frustration was something. She said something along the lines of how back in the day, like, you didn't have all these depressed people around, and that depression is a new phenomenon.
Joyce.
Ahistorical and bad.
I'm not going to diagnose anybody.
No, I'm not going to. I'm not here to pathologize.
But I did read your history of murder.
I'd be pretty depressed if I
might be a little sad.
A little bit sad. Yeah. I didn't grow up with anywhere near that level of tragedy, and I'm pretty sad.
No, I can't think of anyone who's murdered that I'm aware of or would admit. Then we have Andrew Dominik, who's the director of this film.
And as we mentioned, the director of the film Killing Them Softly.
Yes. So his other two films, his first film was Chopper,
that sounds familiar.
I think it was Eric Bana. It's like a prison guy movie. It's like very masculine.
I'm going to guess toxically so.
I would guess so. I mean,
I haven't seen it, so I have no idea. But
it's been a while since I've read about it, but I think he portrays Chopper, a very famous inmate, but I can't remember. Anyway,
sure.
He followed that up in 2007 with the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
Oh, that was him too?
That was him.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
That one I have not watched. I want to because it's gorgeous.
I would like to see it as well, yeah.
But I'm going to guess a bunch of Westerns tend to be more masculine.
I mean, yeah, that is a feature of the genre for sure.
But I think it's interesting that you have Brad Pitt in this film, and then you have Brad Pitt in his next film, Killing Them Softly.
Yeah,
which I very much enjoyed. It's very masculine. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, I want to be clear on this because a lot of people think that whenever you bring up something being masculine, that as a critique, that they think you're talking down on all of masculinity. That if you say if you say that somebody is exhibiting toxic masculinity, that you're saying masculinity is toxic. No, that's not what's happening. The order of those words is important. There are toxic forms of masculinity.
Yeah.
There there are representations of masculinity that are hurtful, that are damaging, traumatic, and there are depictions of masculinity that are positive, that are supportive, nurturing, strong, but not like violent. And there's some that are violent, but yeah, it is a wide, complex construct being a man in this world.
I've been traditionally a man
most of your life, yeah.
I have not written strictly masculine stories.
No,
though I've written plenty of toxic men into my stories.
Yeah,
I would not pick myself to direct Blonde, not because of the subject matter. It's on kind of more up my alley than I would like to admit.
Yeah,
and definitely the time period.
As I say, time period wise, it is very much in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of reading and a lot of research into that era.
But to tell this particular story of Marilyn Monroe, of what she went through in her life, I would probably want to have a perspective that aligns closer to that. If you're to do this topic justice.
Yeah. There are a lot of great women directors out there that could have tackled this and I think done it more justice. Even working with Joyce's source text.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're already starting off rough because the source material is rough. So yeah, I don't have any problem with Andrew Dominik. Maybe don't tell that story. That's not your story.
Know when to pick them. Know when to fold.
Yeah. The other thing I'd like to bring up about him, and this is foreshadowing, obviously. Yeah. Is his top 10 pick that he gave to Sight and Sound in 2012. Okay. So these are his top 10 favorite movies. Really good list. Apocalypse Now, Badlands, Barry Lyndon, Blue Velvet, Marnie, The Night of the Hunter, Raging Bull, Sunset Boulevard, The Tenant, and Mulholland Drive.
Okay, so you've got there's some Kubrick, there's some
Lynch, there's Hitchcock, there's Wilder, there's I think Tenet was Polanski, but I can't remember for certain. Scorsese. I mean, we can't really say like, oh, these are all male directors. Well, they all
of course they fucking were. Right. At that point of time, you're come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not that there weren't women directing things at that point in time, but like the big films that are considered like like the Western canon of film, historically, it's dudes making them. That is what has been passed down. Yeah,
interesting that he picked Barry Lyndon for his Kubrick, but
yeah,
not that I think it's bad. It's really
I've never seen it, so I don't really know what to think about it. But
it is you have to go in knowing that you have to be patient. Because it's very long. It is rewarding, but it's long and slow. Gorgeous, really interesting. There's this is like the stupidest part of the movie to talk about, but there's this like seduction scene early on where people are just like playing cards. And something like pulls over. I've mentioned this before because I was like, I am very aroused right now.
Yeah, when we talked about 50 Shades of Grey, I think you talked about this.
Probably. Subtlety. It can be good.
It can be.
But what I want you to remember, or I guess I'll bring it up right now, two of those films are Lynch. That's Blue Velvet and Mulholland Drive.
Yeah.
Have you watched either of them?
I have not actually, no.
So Mulholland Drive is about an actress that comes from the Rust Belt or the Bible Belt to fulfill her dreams as an actress.
Okay.
Hollywood chews her up, doesn't respect her.
Spits her out.
Yep. She responds to this by going down a dark path. And then it's David Lynch stuff. So it's
so it gets fucking weird.
It gets fucking weird. And it's like it's non-linear. And probably a nightmare. So anyway.
A lot going on there.
I really enjoyed it once I got past the part that would put me to sleep. I've tried to watch this movie like 3 times, but when I was tired,
so you can't do that.
No, I would fall asleep, and then there's probably the only jump scare I can think of in a Lynch film and I
Okay.
would like start to fall asleep right as that happens and have the bejesus scared out of me.
And then you're awake.
And then I'm mad.
So thus you're awake.
So I just turn the movie off and go do something else. But I've recently watched it. Like I was like, I'm fully awake and ready. Let's go.
Nice.
So the last person that is responsible for this film in a very roundabout way is David Lynch.
Really?
Kind of, sort of. Maybe I just want to talk about him. Who knows? We'll get to it.
Is it true? Who knows?
So David Lynch and Mark Frost, who developed and produced
Twin Peaks,
were supposed to do a Marilyn Monroe movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm curious to know if it was specifically supposed to be the made-for-TV blonde that we got from CBS.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true, but I'm going to say it's my headcanon. It fell through, so they didn't get to do it. But they still wanted to create something for TV / their agents wanted money. So instead, we got Twin Peaks, which is a tragic story about a beautiful blonde who has increasingly tragic story, and Mulholland Drive, a movie about a white actress who's destroyed by the Hollywood machine, starring Naomi Watts.
Mm.
So
it's like there's a clear line of influence here.
The adaptation of Blonde that Andrew Dominik did cast Ana de Armas. She was not their first choice.
Who was?
There were two actresses they'd narrowed it down to: Jessica Chastain and Naomi Watts. What was that movie what was your favorite movie there? One of your favorite movies there, Andrew? Mulholland Drive, huh? A movie that's a loosely based story on Marilyn Monroe, or influenced by Marilyn Monroe's life.
Influenced by Marilyn Monroe, yeah. So not only was he going to give this actor his Kennedy hat trick, but he was also going to give her a chance to actually play Marilyn Monroe.
Right.
That's fascinating.
I would like to take a break now.
I think that's an interesting note to go out on. Yeah, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Hey, welcome back. So we've now discussed who is responsible for the movie Blonde.
Yes.
Joyce Carol Oates, Andrew Dominik, and in a very, very, very loosely butterfly effect type way, David Lynch. I'll let him know. That brings us to the part where we fix the movie by me providing a movie pitch. And it's very short. It goes something like, don't. Don't. Do not make this movie. Allow me to provide you with the reason why.
Please.
Besides the movie that you've seen. This is a list of the Marilyn Monroe films that already exist. There's a handful that are documentaries, but they're mostly in the style of what we received.
Okay.
So we have Blonde, 2001. We have Blonde, 2022. Goodbye, Norma Jean. Good Night, Sweet Marilyn. The Legend of Marilyn Monroe. Love, Marilyn. Marilyn, 1963. Marilyn and Me. Marilyn, The Untold Story. My Weekend with Marilyn. The Mystery of Marilyn Monroe, The Unheard Tapes. Norma Jean and Marilyn. Rendezvous in Montreal. This Year's Blonde. Don't.
Yeah.
You've already done it.
I had no idea there were that many.
There are... This might not actually be true at this point. I was going to say there's less Batmans than there are Marilyns, but...
Oh, hold on. No.
Either way, you don't...
No, this has to be a scientific claim. Hold on. So we have...
Okay, there are 15 Marilyns.
There are 15 Marilyns.
Yeah. If you're going with Batman, you have the Batman movie with Adam West.
Okay, okay. Batman 66. Okay.
You have Batman 89, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin.
Batman Begins.
Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises. I refuse to count
Batman v Superman.
I'll count that one.
It's a Batman. It's also a Superman, but it is a Batman.
I will not count Justice League.
No, I will not count Justice League. No.
And then you have
the Batman.
The Batman.
Yeah.
That's 10 Batmans.
That's 10
yeah.
Batman. No, scientific claim. We got it.
Yeah,
there it is. Accurate.
More Marilyns than there are Batmans.
This is
meaning you don't need another one.
no, we really don't need another one. It does suggest that we need at least 5 more Batman movies
to even out with the Marilyn.
The universe demands balance,
including, and there was a number of these that were documentaries, so we need a documentary on Batman.
We need a full Batman documentary.
Demand it be in a on the man Batman, as though he were a real human being that exists.
See, I was expecting just like a thorough exploration of the creation and the evolution of the character, but no, you want a gritty, hard hitting expose on Bruce Wayne, the actual man.
God, who's the guy who directed Thin Blue Line? Because he's a hard hitting documentarian. Anyway,
we'll
call him up. He's pretty old at this point.
He's got nothing better to do then.
Right, yeah. If we were actually to include the documentaries that were about the development of the character, Batman would easily win.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
But if you had to, if you're just like, no, I have this bucket of money that has to go to a Marilyn story, if you really, really have to do it.
It was in somebody's will. We had to do this. Yeah. We were legally bound.
Then I would like to see a Marilyn Monroe that has her agency back.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
She used her sex appeal as a tool. She saw having to sleep with these men as a means to an end. She was very driven. She was very smart, which I did appreciate that they kind of hinted at that in Blonde.
A little bit here and there. Like you do get some idea that she's well read.
Yeah.
She can carry a conversation. She's a trained, skilled actor.
I think I read somewhere that she was doing one of her like many photo shoots, and they were setting up. And she was like skimming through like a journal or a schedule or something like that. And like, oh, that's a really interesting look. Do you happen to have a book on you that you could use for us to, instead of your like calendar or schedule or whatever? And she's like, well, the only book I have on me is Ulysses.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And they're like, yeah, that's great. So like she went and got it and they did the photo shoot. But then people were like, oh, she's just trying to look smart now.
No, she just had that on her.
No, it was just what she was reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She just happened to be reading Ulysses.
Yeah.
I own a copy of Ulysses and have never opened it.
It's good for that.
It's good for that. I do want to read it. I'm going to actually read it eventually. I keep telling myself I have to stop putting that off. So
this was such a complex individual, and we got to see so little of that complexity. Mm-hmm. We didn't get to see her achievements. And like, to me, the tragedy is like her dream was become a famous actress, respected, famous actress. And she came so fucking close.
Yeah. That's the tragedy.
And a part of that was that she couldn't escape her past.
Yeah.
She did have a longing to meet her father. She did want to have children. Don't give me misery porn.
Yeah.
But that's only if you had to do it. You really shouldn't. Just don't do it. Anyway, welcome to The Story of Us, a podcast within a podcast. Allow me to read you my mission statement. This podcast, which you're about to hear, is about the stories that changed us. Changed you. Be it a book, movie, poem, comic, video game, whatever, when you first experienced it, this story connected with you more than any other had before.
I'm having whiplash now.
It got you in a way that most do not. This podcast is about the stories you want people to see, because for them to experience it is to know you better. This podcast is not necessarily the stories you can experience over and over again. Sometimes it's hard to look in the mirror. I fell in love with Star Wars, but you won't learn anything about me by watching it, nor is it a story that I would put forward to show you who I am. Alternatively, 2014's Birdman is a story that encapsulates the part of me that loves and hates and longs for the mad world of theater.
You mean to talk about Birdman?
It's not easy for me to watch. This podcast is about starting a conversation. This podcast is about fun conversations and hard conversations. The conversations that need to happen now. This podcast is about connecting through the stories we love, about finding common ground. This is this is the story of us.
I need to start looking at your fucking notes before the
You
show.
really should, yeah.
So this is a concept for a podcast that we were going to do before we came up with DeRazzled. And Jack did not tell me this was happening.
Yeah.
So what story are we talking about today, Jack?
Oh, Birdman.
Are we seriously talking about Birdman?
Yeah.
Holy shit! Okay, yeah, hell yeah, I'll talk about Birdman. Let's go.
So to tell you what's going on, because I think I just gave Joe some whiplash.
Yeah, you really did. It came out of fucking nowhere.
As you said, this was one. We went through a couple of different ideas before we landed on DeRazzled. This was really close to being.
We literally recorded 2 episodes of it.
Yeah. I liked the idea. I liked DeRazzled more, but I really liked the idea.
Yes.
And as DeRazzled develops, we want to keep trying new things. We tried a bunch of new shit this season.
Yeah.
And people seem to respond to it. I enjoyed it. I get bored really easily.
Sure.
So I got to keep things moving to stay interested.
Yeah. Keep it growing. Keep it changing.
Yeah. And like, as we've changed.
Yeah.
So will the art we put out. Is DeRazzled art? Shut the fuck up.
Oh, God.
I'd
like to think so, says the editor.
The editor can certainly claim so. They have to put up with enough shit. So part of we've already developed most of our schedule for season 3.
Yeah. And
there's a number of them where we've brought in a friend of ours to talk about this is exact thing. So I wanted to kind of do a test run of The Story of Us, a podcast within a podcast. And as I mentioned in the lengthy intro, which will be shortened for the future ones.
That is the intro as was written for the original version of this, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. The movie that, if you wanted to get to know me better, I would recommend watching Birdman. It's a 2014 movie about a washed-up Hollywood actor who's trying to redeem himself, played by Michael Keaton, tries to redeem himself by putting on a quote-unquote like higher art play on Broadway, which is great. That's the premise. He's adopting, I think it's a Carver. Raymond?
It's a Raymond Carver play. Yeah, they're trying to do a new adaptation of a Raymond Carver story.
Yes.
Ed O'Neill is
Edward Norton.
Not Ed O'Neill. Edward Norton. Edward Norton. Those are very different people. Man, those are very different people.
A little bit.
Oh, no. Edward Norton is the director?
So Michael Keaton both is to star in the play, but also direct the play. Edward Norton is who they bring in whenever there's a injury on set.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because he wills a stage light to fall on a guy.
Yeah. I'll probably keep it mostly spoiler free, but
okay.
That happens within the first 5 minutes.
That's pretty early.
There's also Naomi Watts is in this one as well.
Naomi Watts is. I literally pulled up the IMDb for this just as a refresher for me. Naomi Watts is indeed in this as
she plays like the young starlet. Mm-hmm. Huh, weird.
Huh? How about that? Strange how relevant this is. Actually, well done.
Yeah,
you picked a really good time for this. Emma Stone plays Michael Keaton's daughter.
Mm-hmm. Recently out of rehab.
Yes. Zach Galifianakis plays, I believe, his manager.
He's like
or agent,
manager, agent, producer, the guy who gets shit done.
Yeah, I really like Zach Galifianakis.
He's really good in that.
This movie. Actually, this is at a time where he's at like the height of his Hangover fame and whatnot, and he went and he did this, and it was like, that's a different look.
Right.
It really shows off his actual acting capabilities. I think he does a great job. Andrea Riseborough is in this as well, who controversially was nominated for an Oscar for Best Actress this year.
What was she nominated for? Do you recall?
I don't off the top of my head.
I really enjoy her, not only because she's a great performer, but I've watched her in different movies. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was you.
It was To Leslie is the name of the film. There was a big like social media campaign to get her nominated. Some people thought that maybe they had skirted Academy rules. That it was maybe an inappropriate thing. It may be an inappropriate thing going forward, but regardless, she got the nomination. Did not win. Michelle Yeoh absolutely deserved it.
Right.
But
fantastic actress, very versatile.
She's an excellent actress. Yeah, and she does a great job in this as well.
She's a chameleon too, because I've watched her in movies. I'm like, oh, that was you.
Yeah,
and all they did was like change a little bit of her makeup. But the thing that makes Birdman kind of like instantly unique is that it's shot as a one shot.
Yeah. I mean, given there's some trickery in there to make it, that breaks it up a little bit here and there, but it is minimal number of cuts possible, and the way it flows is just gorgeous. And the jazz soundtrack going throughout the entire thing, all those fun jazz drums, all that soloing and improv is so good. Oh,
so it's presented as a one shot. I did rewatch it, just so I could be fresh, and God, I'd like fell in love with it all over again.
Yeah.
It's to briefly go over why I like it so much is it catches the chaos of putting on a play.
Mm-hmm.
It catches the sometimes inappropriate relationships between the actors, the crew, just the people that are sucked up in this like massive art project.
Yeah.
You also get to see the crew occasionally just doing their job and not involved in the drama, which also feels very real to me.
That's pretty good, yeah.
But you have drinking, you have drugs and addiction, you have inappropriate relationships.
Yep.
You have everyone's horny. Specifically, shit, you just said her name.
Andrea Riseborough?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. There's always that like one actor who's just like anyone.
Yeah.
And that's her in this.
That is absolutely her in this.
Ends up making out with Naomi Watts.
Oh, I forgot about that.
It's just so quick. And I'm like, that's this little detail that I'm like, I could absolutely see walking in on like I didn't know they were going to make out. But like, theater.
Theater party.
Right, theater party. So if this is your first episode, it's a weird one to start on.
Yeah, very much so.
Second part of
the season finale.
Yeah. But I went to school for theater, specifically for performance and directing. I attended for 5 years, went the extra lap.
I went for 6, no shame.
Yeah. It was what people typically describe as, or what traditionally is described as people's like high school experience. Like, oh man, it was like the greatest time. Like that was the time I like developed the most as a human being.
I don't understand people who feel that way about high school.
I don't. I do feel that way about undergrad.
I genuinely feel that way, but I would include grad school in that for me too. I think just that was easily one of the best times in my life. The grad school portion of it didn't end great.
Sure.
I finished, I got the degree, but I also had a couple of near mental breakdowns. So not great. But the rest of it, like, it was extremely edifying. Like, learning more about what I want out of life, more about like the kind of people I want to surround myself with, the kind of life that I want, and I feel pretty spectacularly in building any of that. But,
right. Well,
except for the people, I'm lucky to have some very good people in my life.
Being an undergrad for me, it was the first time kind of like a trial run at being an adult.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I have all this trauma and now I have to go be a big person.
Yeah, be a big boy.
And failed wonderfully. But also got to basically create the character that I am. Got to meet people that I'm like, oh, these are my people.
Yeah, that's such a gratifying thing to just gel with and mesh with people on that level.
Yeah. The person I dated before Belinda, we would end up at theater parties every once in a while, my old theater friends.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, these are my people. I just like click immediately into place. And they're obnoxious and loud and wild. I'm like, yeah, isn't it great?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I'm like, I'm an introvert, so being around these extroverts is soothing in a way. I don't have to put forward the energy because they're already putting it forward.
Yeah, you can kind of just vibe.
Yeah, I can just vibe. And if I want to be extroverted for a second, I can.
Yeah.
So that is to say, the theater, the lifestyle of theater is very important to me. Some of the values that I have come from that. If you aren't familiar with Green Room, it has nothing to do with the movie, but the movie is good.
Yeah, I say the movie. I just jumped to the movie. It's like, are we talking? Are we getting into Nazis and punks here? Like, what's happening?
There were some Nazis in the one play, but that's not what we're. So Green Room is typically the place where actors go to like wait for to be called on stage.
Yes, yeah, it's like a lounge / prep area.
Yeah, since this was a university, the Green Room was opened up to any of the students.
Yeah, people just kind of wander in.
Right.
Yeah.
So you had this like salon environment where people would come in and share ideas, and
that's very cool.
Yeah. I have very much missed having a green room.
Yeah.
Because that attitude traveled with me to where I lived at the time with Hank and Ashley, where we had an open door policy.
Mm-hmm.
We each had locks on our own individual rooms.
Oh, sure.
But if you wanted to come in, the house was normally unlocked. We could just come in, hang out, vibe, whatever. That built a community out of these people. Mm. And as anybody who is a quote unquote adult in the current world, it's really hard to find friends, to meet friends.
It can be.
I feel like I've finally uncovered the trick by basically getting involved in specific communities.
Yeah, that goes a long way.
I just had to find the communities that work, because I'm not in the theater community anymore.
Right. It's an adjustment, kind of adapting those things to a new setting.
I had to find the perverts.
Yeah, you had to find the perverts, basically.
Yeah, basically. It's like, and then within the pervert community, there's subsections, and slowly it's all becoming a giant circle. It's just one big circle. But it starts with, because if you're in high school, it's just like, oh, well, these are the kids that sit near me, or these are the kids that are like right at my lunch table. Like, they're your friends, you chose them. But it's also like, especially if you went to a smaller school, you only have so many choices.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas in the theater, it's you're trauma bonded because you're all working on this thing, and you don't have the mental skills to do it, to work through it. So I was like, wow, I needed you at that moment, and now we're bonded because of this thing that we did.
Yeah.
Which is not great, but
it can be a problem sometimes, sure. But yeah, it can lead to healthier interactions as well.
There are a good deal of the friends that I have that are from before my moving to Pittsburgh are from the theater community.
Yeah.
So Birdman.
It's a Birdman.
Sure did like it. Something else. It's very accurate. There's some heightened.
Oh, there's some thoroughly heightened aspects to it.
So pretty early on, you are given the position of trying to decide whether or not Michael Keaton is having a mental breakdown or not, because he's hearing the voice of Birdman in his head,
the superhero that he played like 30 years ago.
So there's those elements are obviously not accurate to what I experienced in theater. Not the mental breakdown stuff that happened, but hearing a voice in my head.
Well, that's the thing. That's one of the parts of the movie that's so good, is the fact that they got Michael fucking Keaton to play this role, and the Birdman suit is kind of Batman-esque.
It's pretty Batman-esque. Yeah.
Like it is. It is like. They couldn't have cast a better person outside of like. I don't know, Christopher Reeve was dead at that point. So like if you had gotten a Superman to come and do that, but like the only living Superman at that point was Brandon Routh, and I don't think that would have
been
worked.
A very different movie.
Very different movie. Michael Keaton was the perfect person to embody this, because he could step into that headspace better than anyone on the face of the planet.
Michael Keaton didn't set out to be a big blockbuster actor.
No.
He wanted to be a comedian.
Yeah. Good Lord. Mr. Mom?
Yeah.
Multiplicity?
Yeah. There's like videos of him doing stand-up.
Yeah.
And then
probably at a Pittsburgh bar.
I would love to know which bars he did stand-up.
I know, right? I would like to know that.
I imagine they're probably not here anymore. But
yeah, honestly.
So I think let's take a quick break. And then when we come back, we'll do some more directed questions.
Okay.
Welcome back. We're still talking about Birdman, a movie that I feel very attached to. And if you watch it, you'll probably know me just a little better. Unless you knew me during that time, in which case, don't watch it. You already know. Like, you were there for the shit. So when we were thinking about having this, The Story of Us, as our podcast, we wrote up a number of like test questions. So I'm going to go over a couple of them. I'm going to pretend this is Jack from the past asking Jack today.
Cool.
These questions. What is it about this story that connected with you more than any other had before? How did it get you? It connected with me because of just how accurate it was or is to theater, at least my experience. A lot of the times you see theater in a movie, it's done to make fun of people in theater. And there's certainly like big personalities in this. Like Edward Norton is playing an obnoxious douchebag, but
oh my God, yes.
He's an obnoxious douchebag who's super talented, so you put up with his bullshit.
And that's also there is a meta narrative there as well, because he has been kind of that difficult to work with douchebag behind the scenes, or at least there's been like talk of that for years and years. So he's kind of stepping into his own kind of past in this role.
The lead actors are all meta narrative. You have Michael Keaton, who was Batman. You have Naomi Watts, who's been the young starlet, hopeful starlet. Does that mean that What's-Her-Face is also the perpetually horny actress?
Huh.
What's her name again?
Andrea Riseborough.
Andrea
Riseborough.
Riseborough. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume yes.
Who knows?
So it gets the characters right. It gets the vibe right. It gets the chaos right. That it is a one-shot, quote-unquote one-shot, and you're following them through this labyrinthian theater.
Yeah.
And things are like coming.
And the streets surrounding it.
And the streets surrounding it. There's a smoker's area.
Yes.
That you have people coming in and out of the scene, or you're like following one person or another person. It's just like living, breathing building with people just like moving in chaos. But like most of the time, organized chaos.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reality of theater, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But how did it get me? Like I said, we've seen theater portrayed in other films before, but it's like either that's silly or they don't quite get it. What this gets is that these characters are all taking the telling of this story, the putting on of this show, very personally.
Yeah.
None of them are. Well, you do have Michael Keaton's daughter, who's like, it's just a play.
Yeah.
Because she's not a theater person.
Right. She's from the outside.
Right. But everyone who's on the inside of it, they have the external kind of like the storm is coming with the critic. But even beyond that, they want to be validated by the art that they're putting on.
Yes.
And that's where I'm like, oh, that is me.
As you.
I want to be validated, in the way that I'm doing this is by putting on art, showing you my art. And as you can kind of, as what happens with Michael Keaton, wanting this external validation does kind of drive him crazy.
Yeah. He goes a little cuckoo bananas in the process.
So that is how the movie got me more than others have. What does the story say about you? I kind of just said that.
Yeah.
What do you want people to get out of this story? What do I want people to get out of this story, Birdman and me? I mean, I would like people to watch just to experience what putting on theater is like. I think I would like people to feel how important putting on a show is for these individuals. I think a lot of time it's easy to look at theater people and kind of poo-poo their dedication to this project. But these characters take it very seriously.
Yeah.
Especially Edward Norton's character is there to be like a joke almost, but he says a lot of truths. That's his whole thing. Is like, I'm trying to portray the truth on stage. Like, this is what art means to me. This is what story means to me. This is a pretend show, but it encapsulates these emotions, these thoughts, this thing I want to say, my values. That's what I would like people to get out of it. Also attend theater more because
honestly, yeah. Like if it's like at the basis level, just like engage with live theater more frequently because it is a magical experience. Like, it can really sweep you away. Even something that you're not particularly enjoying.
Yeah.
There can be moments where it's like, wow. Holy shit, they managed to pull that off.
If you can find like a more intimate space.
Yeah,
do that.
Oh
do that
my God, shit. Yes.
Like I love a little black box theater. Like I'm on the same level as the performers.
Yeah. That stuff's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
You can vibe off their energy.
And they will vibe off yours.
Yeah. I mean, like film's my first love, but theater is such a unique experience that I'll find myself like, during the pandemic, I was like, man, I really miss seeing a show.
Yeah.
How do you feel when you experience a story today? How often do you still experience it? It's a sometimes food.
Sure.
It's definitely, I think since I watched it in theaters when it came out, I think I've watched it twice since then.
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie that I'm like, oh, I'm full. I've had this movie and I'm full. It was rich. It was tasty. I savored the experience. I'm good for a while.
Fair.
How do I feel about it? You know, I've worked on my mental health a lot since that time. I would hope I wouldn't have the same kind of chaotic mental breakdown that I would and have. I can watch these characters and like when I first watched, I'm like, oh, these are my people.
Yeah.
When I watched it yesterday, I was like, these are still my people, but they're incredibly toxic.
Yeah.
And that's not necessary. You don't have to put on a show and have the experience be toxic.
Right. Yeah. It is absolutely possible and preferable for it not to be.
So I think that's the biggest difference.
Growth.
Is there anything you don't like about the story? No.
Honestly,
Not
that's
really.
fair. Yeah.
If I were to start picking things that I don't like, it would be like, oh, this line here or that line here.
That's like splitting
right.
hairs.
Yeah. Something I noticed with this watch was there's certain lines you just miss entirely, because of like levels or because there's something else going on. There's like shit on top of shit, and I like that. Like that feels real to me. Like, oh, I didn't hear what this character said. Well, no, because there's chaos going on over here. Like I wouldn't hear this. That's whenever fucking Dark Knight Rises came out and people were like, I didn't understand. I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to hear every single line clearly. If it's plot relevant, sure.
Yeah.
But like Ed Norton just said like a quippy dickhead thing. That's not important to the plot.
That's super not important. That's true to the world that they've set up. But it's not a crucial thing that like it's going to impact your interpretation of the film.
Yeah. Would I change anything about it? No, not really.
That is Birdman's one of those movies that in my mind is just such a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah.
Like
it's one of those movies. I have a handful of movies. I'm like, the only thing I don't like about it is that it ended.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to live in that world longer.
Mm-hmm.
And which I think it is the exact length it needs to be.
Yeah.
If it were longer, it would overstay its welcome. But like, I just enjoyed that world so much. If I could say anything to the creator, what would your message be? First, I would ask him if he's done theater. It's something I can easily look up.
I would not be surprised if Iñárritu has done theater.
Could you say his name again? Because
Iñárritu?
Yes.
Iñárritu.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because the accent's on the A.
What else he did? Did he do the bear movie?
The Revenant.
Yeah.
The big bear movie that finally got
Leo.
Finally got Leo his Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on the subtitle of this movie?
It to me, remind me what it is. It's
The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance.
That might be the thing I change.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was curious about that. Yeah.
No, I I like it because if the movie was just called Birdman, my expectations for what the movie would be incredibly different. That specific subtitle, meh. And like it plays into the story, but I don't know that that's the like underlying through line throughout the film. So I would keep a subtitle. I would probably change it to something different.
Interesting. Just off the top of your head, do you have an idea of what, or is that something you want me to put more thought into?
Well, the title as is reads very foreign, which makes sense because he's foreign.
Yeah.
Like when I first saw the title, I'm like, oh, it's a foreign film. We're gonna watch a foreign. Oh wait, no, Michael Keaton's in it.
Wait, Michael Keaton's in it. And it's completely in English. Wait, what?
Right, yeah. I would probably. Yeah, no, I'm bad at titles to begin with, so coming up with one off the top of my head,
Yeah, fair enough.
Is a bit difficult. As far as the message I would send that gentleman, I mean, I would ask him if he did theater because I'm just like, you did, right? You had to, right? You just can't.
You
nailed it.
It's so on the nose.
Yeah,
like in a good way.
Yeah,
like,
I would ask him because like a lot of these characters are not great people.
No.
I think if you had to pick what would be quote unquote a good person, it would be Naomi Watts' character.
Yeah.
Not that any of them are like out and out bad people.
No.
But they're just very driven, and in that drive, they can do shitty things.
Mm-hmm.
Theater. I would ask him to talk about what a non-toxic version of this movie would be. It would probably be boring as hell.
I would be curious to hear his thoughts on
I would
that.
want to hear his thoughts. I don't want to see that movie.
It would not be, I'd watch a short.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'd watch a short of that.
Yeah.
And I would like to know what he thinks of the characters.
I bet that information exists. I bet there's like some Blu-ray material or something that has that.
This is really the only question I'm struggling with because I'm like, I don't actually need to hear from him.
Yeah.
Like everything that he wanted to say is in the movie. You can suss it out.
Yeah.
There are some people, it's an ambiguous ending, so some people probably would ask about that. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's not, that's not where my mind would go with that.
No.
Be like asking Christopher Nolan about the end of Inception. Just like, no, it's the least interesting question to ask him.
Like draw your own conclusions or don't.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what the movie's about.
Right.
That's not, especially Inception. It's like the movie's not about whether or not it's in a dream or not.
Yeah.
That's not the
that's not the
story.
point.
Yeah. I really like this movie. The last question that we would ask in this theoretical podcast that we've launched within our podcast is for other recommendations if people wanted to get to know me, which I did not think of beforehand.
You mentioned Star Wars.
Well, I said Star Wars wouldn't.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
That was a joke, Jack.
Oh, okay. The rest would be like, oh, this is my taste on this thing.
So Birdman.
Midori. See last episode for
God damn it.
Inside joke.
See, I was going to make a different joke. And I was going to say Harvey Birdman, attorney at law.
Right.
And the documentary archive at the Audubon Society. You just like birds.
You know, I do know one film that people should watch if they want to know me better. Mm-hmm. Brought to you by Vince DiStefano, who repeatedly has told me that my aesthetic is the Zapruder film. And
that's both a very Vince thing to say and 100% accurate.
So we went on a burn together recently.
Yes.
And everything I did, he's like, Zapruder film. I'm like, fuck, you're right. I went to the Goblin Market and made a trade.
Yeah.
And I like searched through this thing to find the item that I wanted. And there was this broken monkey doll with pipe cleaners for arms and a spring coming out of its head. And I'm like, I need this.
Yes, that's it. You have very rarely described an item that has been a thing that you have needed more.
Right. Well, I'd already purchased the clown painting. So
yeah, it's fair.
How you feeling about Blonde, Birdman, season 2.
I mean, fuck Blonde.
Fuck Blonde. That was an awful
That
goddamn
movie's terrible. The movie is terrible and hates women and is just should not be viewed.
Yeah.
Don't watch it. Just,
Don't watch it. Watch Birdman.
Watch Birdman instead, which is a great fucking movie. Yeah. Holy shit. I'm going to watch that again.
Yeah, it moves.
Yeah.
It literally moves the whole time. But
yeah, no, it just trucks along. It's a good pace. It's
it's 2 hours, but it does not feel
it does not feel like 2 hours. No. And season 2, I feel pretty fucking good about season 2.
I need to sit down and see what all happened in season 2 versus season 1. Because we did so much this season.
We did so much. Oh my god!
And I'm like, wait, did my constellation episode? That was last episode.
That was this season. Yeah,
it was part 1. But
on location at Constellation Burn was this season. All of these
Cats was this season.
Cats was last season.
Oh, was it?
Cats was definitely last season.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I remember watching it at the old house.
Yeah. Oh man, all of the development hell stuff was this season.
True. The weirdly interconnected development hell series.
Yeah, like the weird thread of like John Peters that took place through a lot of that. And it's also Mark Wahlberg through parts of it. Like, it's just that was trippy as hell.
And then I'm not going to spoil it like the internet already has, but then we had the payoff of the John Peters Superman in The Flash.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Only matters to me.
I still haven't seen it. I know that happens though.
It's a movie.
It's a movie. Yeah. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews.
I love Michael Keaton in it. I thought he was phenomenal.
I'm probably going to wait for it to hit streaming before I watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit. I guess we should probably say something really quick about the festival, and then that'll be it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, as you're listening to this today, you could submit a short film to us by you can email it to DeRazzledPodcast@gmail.com. Put Willem Dafoe in the subject line, and then we will be considering those throughout the year
because we want to have we will post the rules. We do have the rules and regulations are already up.
Yes.
So there is only one category. It's bad movies.
Yeah.
That can be unintentionally bad. That can be intentionally bad. That can be the result of bad ideas. That can be the result of bad luck. But we don't want good movies.
We don't want good movies. No. And that is not a knock to your work. That is not a
right.
Yeah, that is not a gatekeeping kind of thing that we're doing here. It's just not in the spirit of
the Willem Dafoe
of the Willem Dafoe interview and point that he was making. This is an attempt for you to kind of break out of your box or break out of your rut, just to kind of kickstart you by getting you to do something, get an idea out onto paper and then onto a screen.
As Willem said, as Willem gave you, and as I give you, you are given permission, encouraged to make bad art.
Yeah. What's a thing that you've always wanted to do, but would only look good if you had an asinine budget and digital access and so on and so forth? But you have a really shitty, stupid way that you could make it work on a like that you could actually make it happen, but it's gonna look dumb as hell. Do that.
Yeah.
Like experiment. Do that kind of thing.
The only other thing I want to say about it. Is we would prefer it to be less than 15 minutes or less than 10 minutes is preferred.
Yeah, we would prefer 10-minute max,
but we will go 15 if it's sent, but beyond 15 and we're not the right festival.
Yeah, no, we mean short. We want to keep that. We want to actually keep this short. We'll have more details about like how we're going to actually host this festival as we get closer to the date. But but as we said in the previous episode, you have 11 months to actually submit. So you will have until we'll say June 18th, 2024 to actually submit. Yeah. So if you want to get started working on something, go for it. This is the time. If you are just listening to this episode and it's June 1st, you have time. Honestly, yeah, you could. You could make a short film. I very much hope we get some last minute submissions like that. Like, oh fuck, I threw this together at the last second. Right. Great. Very much the kind shot of thing on your phone.
phone audio, phone actors, all of it.
All of it. I will say no AI submissions.
Yeah.
Yeah. We want this to be like, you may. I'm not going to comment about the using AI as a tool to help refine ideas or whatever. This is about you getting something out. This is you.
Yeah.
This is about people being creative. So no AI, please and thank you. This is not an excuse. When we say bad film, we do not mean homophobic, xenophobic, racist, transphobic, ableist, any of that kind of nonsense. Please don't do that.
Yeah. And this is all, there's like 10 regulations for eligibility, and it's all very, you know. Common sense stuff.
And it's all going to be up on DeRazzled.com as well. So feel free to check out our website. All that information will be there as well. And of course, you can always email us at DeRazzledPodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions. If you want to run an idea by us before you submit it to see if it's okay. And we're always happy to communicate about those things. You can even reach out to us on social media if you have.
I don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, Jack doesn't really use social media that much, and honestly, neither do I. But
I like TikTok.
Jack likes TikTok. But we're on TikTok and Instagram at DeRazzled_podcast, Twitter at DeRazzledPod, and Facebook at DeRazzledPodcast. Feel free to reach out and ask us any questions on those platforms as well. We are more than happy to engage in conversation about this.
And again, there's no submission fee.
And there's no submission fee. Yeah, like we said, this is not about money. There will be a best of show prize that will win a very old
a gift certificate
coupon book
to Chi-Chi's.
gift certificate to Chi-Chi's restaurant, the defunct family Mexican eatery.
Because much like the film should not be good, the prize reflects that. Right. So unless you're a time traveler, it's more about the vibe.
It's more about the vibe. Yeah,
and if you are a time traveler, enjoy your half off fish tacos.
Yeah, honestly, that sounds amazing.
Joe, would you like to wrap us up?
I would love to. So yeah, thank you all for listening, for checking us out here for our season 2 finale. And surprise springing of a podcast within a podcast that was going to be a podcast before this podcast. We are thrilled with the direction that we're moving, and we are so excited for season 3 coming up later this year. We are going to take a little bit of a break, as I think we've mentioned in the past. 2 weeks from today, we are going to be releasing a deleted scenes episode. A couple weeks after that, we'll release another deleted scenes episode. We might have a little interstitial update episode in between, somewhere after that, and then after that, we will then come back strong with season 3, which I believe the first episode is going to be talking about the love guru, and we're going to be bringing on my mom.
Yeah.
So there's that to look forward to, guys.
We made a lot of risky decisions,
and we're starting with that one.
As Willem instructed, we're doing it.
We're doing it. So please, if you have not already, please rate and review the show everywhere you possibly can. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, Podchaser, Podcast Addict, Good Pods. Anywhere you can rate and review helps us out a ton. It helps more people discover the show. A lot of people have discovered the show this season.
Yeah,
and we're hoping. I know. We are looking to continue to get more people to experience us.
Spread like a virus.
But remember, if you've been here for the duration, you've been keeping up with us here. Thank you. It means the world to us. We love you for that. And be sure to come back next season where we are, of course, sure to razzle dazzle you.